to Janet Today, Janet Tomorrow, Janet Forever, the Janet Jackson podcast where two cousins discuss all things Janet Jackson. Today we're going to talk about Janet Jackson's duet with Busta Rhymes, What's It Gonna Be? My name is Courtney, and I'm here with my cousin,
Kam, and today we're joined by Craig Seymour.
Craig holds a PhD in American Studies, has written for Vibe, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Spin, amongst other publications. He served as music analyst for CNN Headline News, and most importantly, he is a member of the Jan Fam. Craig has interviewed everybody from Mariah Carey to Luther Vandross and our very own Janet Jackson. We've asked him here to chat with us about his experience interviewing Janet Jackson and also his upcoming book, Special, A Critical Meditation on Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
So welcome,
Very
sir.
excited.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I love you guys.
Thank you. We're so happy to have you. I love following you on Twitter. You always have new and interesting things to say, so that's why we wanted to ask you here. And then when I saw that you were writing the Janet Jackson book, I was like, yeah, he must join us.
Well, thank you.
So tell us, when did you fall in love with Janet Jackson?
So, I follow all the way through like the Jackson TV show, through the good times, through the different strokes. As far as I can remember, she's always been a part of my life. And she's always just been that kind of like, like that cool cousin you have that you just kind of look up to and whatever, and, but very relatable, not like so far above your age that you're kind of like, so that's basically been the way it was. And that's sort of the way it still is, that's just kind of carried with me through my whole life. The way I felt about Janet has never changed from the first time I saw her, like on the Jackson TV show and read about her in Jet. You know what I mean? One of my aunt's Jets, sitting there and while they're under the hairdryer and stuff. So my feelings about her, what has constantly changing is the context and the way other people around me have felt about Janet, whether or not she's mainstream this time or she's not mainstream.
Totally get it. Yeah. Sometimes it feels like you are one of a few fans, and then sometimes it feels like you're one of a many. It's like other fans come, they get on the bandwagon, they get off. But like folks like you and I and me and Kam, we stay.
Yeah. All right. So now I have a kind of a hard question for you now. What is your favorite Janet era? If you had to choose one now.
I already know. It has to be the Velvet Rope. I mean, we're talking about from the visual. We're talking about from the hair. Because I think the first thing I saw of that, before even the single came out, was just the back of her head or her head and then red curls. And I think I was already set. To me, it like brings together everything that she had done up to that part and sort of looks towards the future. And what I mean by that is that it takes sort of the social conscience of Rhythm Nation era. It takes the sort of assertiveness of the Control era, and then the sort of intimacy of the Janet era, and then puts it all together into this sort of this introspective thing where you're sort of looking at, yourself, but you're also looking at society, and you're just, it reminds me very much of this era now. I hate to say like the woke era because that's played, but it's like we're in this era now where a lot of us are like rethinking ourselves and rethinking our relationship to the world and rethinking what we think about this politically and this and that. There's this whole sort of reconfiguring of the world that at once is political, but at the same time, it feels very personal. And I feel in a way, the Velvet Rope era kind of prefigures that a little bit.
I agree. Yeah, I feel you.
I want to ask about, you mentioned that Janet has always been with you and you've always kind of thought of her as a cousin, and your feelings about her have remained the same, but the context has changed. So what I want to know is, in 2006, when you had that interview with Vibe, one, tell us how that happened, but also two, having had kind of a vision of what she was in your head.
Okay, I gotcha.
How did that inform your time with her?
Well, our first interview was in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first cover story that I wrote on her for Vibe, and that was All For You era. I flew out to Minneapolis. It was cold as I don't know what, even though it was April, but snow and everything. So it's like that was the time, I think, and it was just like she picked me up from the hotel. It was just, her and me in the car. She was driving. She was running red lights. I was terrified, but whatever. Ice everywhere. But but we made it to flight time. And, we basically spent like hours, just the two of us in like a conference room in flight time. And we were just taught like, I mean, it's kind of like it's the familiarity, yes, which I can understand. Some people might be like, I don't know you like that just because you see me on TV, don't mean. But she wasn't, you know what I mean? And we kind of got off from the start, just talking and laughing and making jokes about each other and just all that kind of stuff. So that was a really good time. And then sort of the 2006, and that one took place. She was in Miami, and she was doing the cover for that. Basically, I interviewed her on the flight back. So we were on a PJ from Miami to New York, and then where she was meeting JD at the time. And the interesting thing about that, and looking back at it, is because I've been recently reviewing both of the transcripts in order to put them in the book. I realized that she was a lot more focused on music in 2001 than she was in 2006. Yeah, where she was a lot more focused on just talking about her relationship with Jermaine and just kind of like that.
Oh.
It wasn't a lot about music, and then we look at that. So that's that 20YO project. And then in retrospect, we see kind of like things that maybe Jimmy Jam has said about that era and other things. And now it kind of makes sense to me that, and the thing about it is, okay, so before I went to Miami, like a week before, they flew me into Atlanta to go to Southside Studios with this Jermaine Dupri's studio in Atlanta. And he plays me a lot of the tracks from it. And I was like, well, what do you think I should ask her? And he was like, ask her where her head's at. And I'm thinking to myself, why should I have to ask her? Why don't you? You her man, don't you know?
I'll get you.
And so then, the first thing I do when we get on the plane, I'm like, well, Jermaine wants me to ask you where your mind's at, where's your head at? And she was like, why is he asking you to ask me where my head's at? Doesn't he know? She had the same reaction that I had. But again, I think it was maybe just one of those things that, she was fulfilling that Virgin contract. Things are due when they're due. And I just don't know that she was really there for the music at that time. And Jimmy Jam has recently said that there was one album, he didn't say which one, but there was one that when she met up with them, she was like, Terry, you just go ahead and do the lyrics. I don't really have any ideas right now. And looking back, I'm thinking it was probably that one. It was probably that one. Because isn't that the one where she says, sometimes it's best if you have nothing to say, let's dance, boom, 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 or something.
Right. Yeah. Do you feel like she was rushed into doing that project?
I don't know if it's rushed. I think it was the kind of thing like, I think she was into Tamita Joe. And I think Tamita Joe was kind of her way of, she had been with Jimmy Terry for so long. She was kind of branching out, and there were new people. Hip hop was the NR version. So I think he was bringing her some new people. He was introduced, and he's like down with Jay-Z and stuff. So I think he was introducing her to Kanye and people like Scott Storch and stuff. So I think she was kind of inspired by those people. And so I think she was kind of into making music then. But I think post Super Bowl, if you make something and people are just like, that's all right. And all the people that supported before in terms, because, it takes to be a star of her level, that's just not us running to buy the record, right? You need institutions to be supportive of you to make a hit on the Janet Jackson level. And when she's out there and feels like those institutions, those VH1s, those MTVs, she loves BET. She's not a BET artist. You know what I mean? Like, she needs the whole full span. Let's be real with it. And I think you feel that support has eroded for you and you don't have any signs that it comes back. Well, then how would you feel about making an album at that point? Because I think a lot of things are just weird with it. Even then, you think the first single, like Call on Me, it was kind of, nobody wants Nelly all up in the first gen. Move, get out the way.
Yeah, I just want you to know that the first time I heard Call on Me, I kind of turned away from it for many times. And it was kind of like a catchy hook, but I did not think that was supposed to be her song. I thought it was a Nelly song that she was featured on. I didn't realize, like, oh, this is your single. Okay, this changes everything.
It was, because I heard that the first time when JD played it for me, it wasn't even out. And he was like, and they had not decided that was going to be the first single. And he played it for me, and I was just like, oh, so what else you got? Yeah. You know what I mean? I was trying to be as polite as possible, but I was just like, I'm not really, that's going to be a dated record if you have Nelly on it.
You're not wrong, but I do have to say, I just recently went to a game and Nelly was the halftime show.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what he should be doing.
He did like 3 or 4 songs and like that I did not know any of the words to. but they
Oh,
felt like
man.
familiar. And my friend was like, "Oh, this came out like last year or earlier this year." I was like, "Nelly's still making the same song from 2000?"
Yeah, exactly. And see, the thing was at the time, but it's that record that JD had. It was just him
Yeah.
and Nelly and like maybe Bow Wow was in the video or something. But it was really like Chains or Let Me See Your
Grills, yeah. Smile for me,
Grills.
daddy. Yeah.
I successfully erased that from my memory. Like I was never gonna come up with it if you guys didn't say it, and now it's fully present in my mind.
Thank you. Yes. So when I was talking to him about the first single, he kept saying, "Oh, but I've had so much success with Nelly lately. I have so much success with Nelly." And I was going, "Yeah, but I really like that song With You." He was like, "Yeah, but I'm thinking Nelly." And I was like, "But you know what sounds good of the songs that you played me? The songs that really sounded good was that With You. I think that has the and I like Do It To Me too." And I kept bringing it back up. It's like, "Oh yeah, that's really nice. Anyway, we can hear that With You again." Yeah.
20YL definitely felt different than all the others. And it definitely sounded like I always complain when it doesn't sound like she's done enough writing. And I know that's not fair, but I feel like she has to be involved in the creation of a song from that standpoint. Even obviously she doesn't have to write every song, but she got to put her flavor on it. And this was pretty flavorless until you got to the back half of the album. Yeah.
And I also feel like she always needs Jimmy and Terry. Just bring them with her.
So you just told us some fun stories, but is there anything else? Like, I want to know something that happened when you were with her that you wouldn't have believed if you weren't there.
Well, I've told this story before, but this is so socially awkward, but it said so much to me about who she was as a person. Like it's probably one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened to me during an interview.
Uh-huh.
The way she handled it, she was really cool with it. So like, okay, so picture the scene, we're up in the air, 30-some thousand feet. It's nighttime. We're going from Miami to New York. We're at glamorous locations. Lights are dimmed in the private jet. We're just chilling and chilling and chilling. And y'all see I can talk, right? Y'all see I just be talking. And I guess I had no water for a while or whatever. I'm talking to y'all. All of a sudden, a little bit of spit comes out the top of my mouth, goes flying toward her. I'm like, no, I'm praying to God, change the trajectory of the spit. Can we change the coordinates? The latitude of the spit? And I'm like, no.
You couldn't catch
So
it.
fortunately, it kind of curves to the left a bit.
Oh,
So it don't go on her. And where she had just been eaten. But it lands on the table.
goodness.
Now, child, we are still talking mid-sentence back and forth. And there is this foamy piece of spit sitting on the mahogany colored table. So we're just looking. I'm talking. She's talking. We both be making real eye contact because we both not trying not to go peripheral because we don't want to see the spit. So we talking. My eyes are dead on her. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel you. Oh yeah, that was. So finally, she had just finished eating lunch and she had a napkin on her lap. No, but she did it smooth. She like kind of picked up her lap and she was kind of talking with it a little while. Like flip. Oh, and then kind of used it to make hand gestures. And it goes from one hand to another, and then without like missing a beat, she just kind of like and just swapped it up,
Sopped up your spit.
balled it up, and
Yeah.
just put it to the side, and never broke the gaze. She ain't make me feel bad about myself. She didn't run screaming for her bodyguard to like. She didn't call for a cleanup on aisle 3. She was just very smooth, and to me, that just really spoke with her as a.
Oh, that's too funny. Oh, I'm sorry that happened to you, but if it didn't happen to you, we wouldn't have this great story. How come all the most embarrassing moments are like in slow motion?
I would have died. I would have just been like, fluke.
I really think that she's one of those people that tries to make other people in her presence feel comfortable.
Oh, well, that's interesting. So anything else you want to tell us? What else you want us to know about your fun time?
That's really it. Like, I guess if anybody wants to hear the actual interviews, I'm going to put them up by the time this airs. You can just go to craigspoplife.com/Janet, and I'll have all the audio there for you too if you want to listen to the audio, or all the transcripts are going to be in the book when the book drops on the 22nd. So
yeah, so tell us more about that.
Well, it was just kind of like, how it's been so long since that it took so long for her to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact of like, people have to be covered in a certain way, and there has to be like a consensus about the argument as to why somebody should be inducted. And just thinking about it, Janet does stuff when her albums come out and stuff, but there's never been anything that really took a look at her whole career and sort of made an argument for why she's an important artist. Some you could just tell, I'm like, here, read this.
Right.
You want to know why she's important? Here, read it. You know what I mean? And so I felt the need to finally just do that because both my interviews with her have run as kind of Q&As. But in that, I've always had a lot more that I wanted to say that didn't really fit within the Q&A format. So I just said, it was around Thanksgiving time. I was like, let me get off this couch and to have something for when the induction ceremony comes out, just so that there is one place for people to go to really understand what she has done over these years and how that's contributed to pop culture, how she's sort of changed the dialogue on pop culture. Does that make sense?
It really does. And I think it's very important what you're doing because I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, but like kind of annotating her entire career in a way that spans the generations. Because what I have discovered in like Twitter Jam Fam and, Facebook Jam Fam is that people really know the Janet they met when they were of a certain age.
Yes.
Like yourself, you have the luxury of growing with her, but people are still coming to her, right? And so they're thinking that she's Velvet Rope Janet because that's when they discovered her, or they're thinking that she's 20YO Janet when they discovered her, right? But I think too, she's been so many things to us over the years, and she's been a constant presence for so many of us. But for folks who really have not followed her career in the way that, fans have, you could easily dismiss her as being, I don't want to say a fad or a trend.
Exactly. It's like to understand her artistry and understand that she's been doing something consistently through all these albums. That argument there's nothing really that puts all that together. So I was just, you look around, well, who, I wish somebody would do this. Well, who's going to do it? Okay, I'll do it. It's kind of like, yes, I'd rather read it, but, I feel like because I've been privileged enough to have spent time with her and also privileged enough to be there for the entire trajectory of her career, I'd feel like that is something that I wanted to do.
As you know, she got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Do you feel like social media played the major role in her getting in this time? What made this last voting session the one that put her over the top and put her in there, in your opinion?
I think it was a combination of things. I think it was getting really, really, really time. I mean, it took a long time after she was eligible to even be nominated. And then she has been nominated so many times. And then Questlove had made, his appeal. And I just think, for as sort of insular and as white male oriented as some of those music things are, and same thing with like the Grammy. I mean, same thing with Grammys and the Academies, as those institutions that kind of sort of for legitimacy on something as they are, I think it's sometimes even they get beat down and they're like, okay, we're tired of being called racist and sexist, but let's just let this child in. Every time I read something about her, I'm just like, they don't really get it completely. It's kind of like they get a part of it. They're talking about the appetizer, but they're not really they're not really writing a review of the meal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like it's never really complete and it's never connected to other things. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's never people talk about control. Well, let's talk about how she kind of had to realize that taking control meant different things at different points in your life. So it's like taking control meant one thing then, but taking control of your sexuality, that meant another thing come Janet. And taking control of your mental health, that meant another thing come Velvet Rope. So control was not just one thing. Control is something that has gone throughout her whole career and her whole life's work. And even control, I think, even if you think of Unbreakable, sort of about like control spiritually and everything like that. So all of that I feel just consistently gets lost, and it makes me mad. It frustrates me as a fan.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so let's move into some news. So we'll do a quick disclaimer. We're actually in the process of stacking some shows in advance of some travel. So our record date. We're recording today, which is February 28th, and the show will post on 3/14. So it most definitely will not be news when most folks hear it. So get in your time machine and travel back with us. Let's talk about the moment you heard Janet was going to Vegas.
I don't know if I text you or if you text me first, but I saw it on Facebook and I said, "Ooh, is this?"
Girl, you text me so early in the morning. I was still on my way to work.
Okay, look, picture it. I was in the hardest drive-through line. I was getting a sausage egg biscuit, and Facebook said, "Beep beep." I said, "Ooh, Janet Vegas. Oh, Jesus, it's a fire." So I sent you the link because I was like, I want her to check this out to make sure this is legit. Because I'm like, this could be fake. But it's true. Janet, 15 dates in MGM Park starting May 17th. She's going to show Vegas how it's done. And I'm so excited that my bank account is saying, hold up, precious.
Listen, girl. Can we talk about that for a second? I want to talk about that because, I'm trying to think of how to say this as politely as I can, but I just felt some kind of way about the notification coming out on like Wednesday and being like, tickets go on sale Thursday.
She did a Beyonce because I remember Beyonce dropped Formation, and next thing you know, Formation tour coming soon. Next thing you know, you want to get your tickets pre-sale.
Girl, we didn't even get it coming soon though. We didn't even get it coming soon. We gotta lay down now so you can wake up and buy these tickets. Craig, do you remember where you were when you learned about this?
Well, I had seen Gil's tweet the day before, like saying something like "wait for it" or something like that. So I was looking for something. Of course, I was praying for an album.
You were like, I need an album.
But my whole thing is like, you're not going up a chart. You're not debuting at number one. People bought tickets to your tour show this week. Like, I just don't understand the look. I mean, I think kind of what it is that there's a concept in sales, okay, that if you have to, and I know this being an author, it's like people only buy stuff if they they feel a sense of urgency. And if they feel something is always available, they're less likely to jump and make the move. Like, I think the same thing with tickets is like they want to make sure to sell out right away. So they just make it like so, oh my God, the tickets are going to be on sale right now. If you don't, sell your grandmama, you're not going to get tickets and you're not going to be able to go.
Don't sell your grandmamas. Do not sell your grandmamas.
So I think.
Do not sell your grandmamas.
So I think that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Otherwise, it's just kind of crazy as far as I see.
But the show is being marketed as the centerpiece, and I'm reading this directly from one of the articles. The centerpiece of this all-new thought-provoking show will be Janet herself captivating you through your senses with electrifying visuals, explosive dance numbers, chart-topping hits, and fan-favorite deep cuts. And then it goes on to say, the show will trace Jackson's path to self-love, empowerment, motherhood, and activism amidst the challenges she faced along her personal journey.
Now, see, when I heard that, that's what made me feel like her next project isn't an album. This is her next project.
This is the thing that she's been hinting at for the better part of a year.
Yeah, because that last part that you read, that sounds like passion to me. That sounds like something that somebody's passionate about. So to me, I see it as like, rather than write another book or something, like she's giving us her biography in performance.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot you can do in Vegas that you can't do anywhere else because you don't have to go nowhere.
That's my theory as well. So we're going to talk a little bit later more about that, but that is my theory as well. But I will say that when I first read this, my mind stopped when it said explosive dance numbers, and I missed dance, and I was like, ooh, there's going to be fire. So I was really excited about that for a minute. But another thing that caught me in here too was it said her journey to motherhood and activism. And I was like, those seem out of order because she's been an activist since she's about 20 years old. So that while she has continued to evolve and do it differently, but that is not a recent phenomenon. And so I don't want her to sell herself short by putting that at that very end like that.
Yeah.
But the other thing though, like I was like, oh, this is it. It's about to happen. We're going to meet Janet Jackson. So I get in there and I see the price for the meet and greet, and I'm not even trying to be. It's $1,500 for the meet and greet.
Oh Lord! Oh Lord.
I can't be mad at her because I'm like, look, you're the only Black person with a top 10 number one hit in each of the last 4 decades. You can ask for what you want to ask for. Like, I can't even be mad at you. I just don't know that I can stand next to you. I just don't know that I can do that.
Well, I mean, my thing is, I think the way she's looking at it is that it's a once in a lifetime, which it
absolutely
is.
is.
So, I mean, I think in terms of thinking about once in a lifetime experiences, then $1,500 doesn't quite seem that much in general. That still doesn't necessarily mean you have the money
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's really phenomenal because, she did a lot of, we would see her taking the pictures after the show during the State of the World tour. And I just always thought to myself, like, how is she this darn pleasant after, just laying it all? Like, we just watched you lay it all out on the stage. And like, now you're spending all this time like meeting and greeting and hugging folks and being kind. So again, you can charge whatever you want because she earned it. All right, so let's go transition into our song for this week. This week we are talking about What's It Gonna Be?
What's it gonna be? Oh,
Janet's duet with Busta Rhymes, released March 9, 1999. 20 years, guys. 20 years this song is, and it still sounds good.
yeah.
It really does, because I just played, I watched the video and I played it again today. I was like, you know what? It really does hold up.
Not like that Nelly, huh?
We gonna be in so much trouble.
Not even like that. It's funny because both of the videos were by Hype Williams, Call on Me and What's It Gonna Be. The What's It Gonna Be video still looks hot. The Call on Me video, in my opinion, never looked hot. So
I can't.
Call on Me video looks like
you
you're
can.
a Benihana or something.
I cannot do this with you. But I did want to say that this is one of Hype Williams, to me, one of his better videos. Because whenever I think of Hype Williams, like everything that I think about him, it all goes back to Belly. And then it just kind of sullies everything. And I know this man has made some of the best, like all of the 90s videos. He is the 90s, early 2000s king. Like he was just, I don't know when he slept. But I just can't, every time I think about him, I just think about Belly. So this song was actually from Busta Rhymes' third album, Extinction Level Event. And for Janet, the single landed between Every Time, and then another collaboration with, I'm just going to say God, that's not right.
Blackstreet.
What was Teddy?
Blackstreet.
Yeah, Blackstreet. I'm like, what was Teddy Riley's other band? Blackstreet. Girlfriend, Boyfriend, which was another odd song to me, but okay.
Can I vent about that song? Boyfriend,
Please.
Girlfriend, Boyfriend. I can't stand that song. I don't know what Teddy was thinking. I don't know what Janet. It's not awful, but it's not very pleasant. I just understand. I didn't understand what the concept of it, and then the video was not good at all. So Teddy Riley lost the point.
Oh, the video was terrible.
So Teddy,
I didn't want to say that out loud, but I tried to fight it, and my brain was like, "You gotta say it."
It was bad. So, but Teddy lost the point with me because I was like, "This is not good at all."
But I think what that was is, one thing she said it to me, and I don't know when she said it to me, but she said that when she did I Get Lonely with Blackstreet, that they reminded her of her brothers. So I think that she kind of had a soft spot for Teddy and for Blackstreet. That was kind of like returning the favor for them. So that's the way I kind of just like look at that record.
I can totally buy that. I buy that. I wish she would have made them try harder.
Yes.
That was fire. That I Get Lonely remix with Blackstreet was fire.
I don't know about that.
Y'all don't like it?
I still.
Okay, listen, here's what I'm going to say.
It seems like there's some notes in there that aren't quite hitting to the right, to me.
It's not better than the original. And so it always does kind of bother me when people do remixes and it's not better. I'm like, you knew it wasn't better when you finished. You should not have released it. But it wasn't terrible. Like, it was legitimately fine. It just wasn't as good as the original. Right.
All I know is, how like back in the, I don't know how old you guys are, but back then you'd be watching MTV Jams and you hear the I Get Lonely beat and you go in the room. Then you hear did you see Blackstreet on your people?
Yes.
And you go back in the laundry room and go back to folding your clothes, whatever you do.
I just want to say that for once,
something was wrong.
I did not have that issue. I like them both. I liked both versions. I preferred it without them, but I liked it with them. But back to Busta. So Busta, this was released after his single "Give Me Some More," and so that was very interesting. one of the things that was interesting was Busta tells this story about kind of how it happened. So Janet is being interviewed on the radio, and they ask her who hasn't she worked with that she would like to work with. And I think just off the top of her head, she says Busta Rhymes. And the way he tells it, he says he was driving his car and almost crashed when he heard Janet Jackson say his name, wanting to do song together. So he says he like called somebody and was like, get Janet's people on the phone now. Tell them we got the song. Tell them we got the song. And so she agreed to it. And he's like, okay, we don't got the song, but we gonna have one when you get here. So like, so he and Antoinette Roberson, Daryl Allenby, they wrote this song together with, specifically for Janet Jackson.
Yeah, and at the time they were doing a lot. They had a production deal at Elektra, so like that whole sound with Daryl Allenby and stuff, that was all like Silk Records and like the Gerald Levert records and that. So you get that feel. But I think what makes but What's It Gonna Be a record that I really like and that makes it kind of a next level Janet duet, in my opinion, is I think Antoinette Roberson's her vocals on it, like her doing the demo and like pushing Janet to go that high and stacking those vocals that high and stuff. That to me feels very dramatic, and that's the thing that I like most about the song. If you take Janet off the song, I'm not sure that I would like the song as much, but I feel like when she sings those high notes and stuff, it's just very dramatic to me.
Yeah, I would agree. It definitely sounds that is definitely a different sound for Janet, but it sounds so Janet. It's like they found the perfect thing for Janet that she hadn't already done.
Yeah.
And I think Busta actually did a good job with he didn't mind stepping back and letting Janet kind of own the song, because honestly, I always just felt like it's Janet's song featuring Busta to me. So I think he just really wanted to make sure that Janet stand out on the song, even though, it's his hit. He was like, Janet, you can do whatever you want. You want a marching band? We'll get you a marching band.
That's a good point though, because you know what? I could listen to the song without Busta. I wouldn't listen to the song once, even one way through, without Janet. Do you know what I mean? So it shows you who really is running things on the song,
Yeah, it is so funny because I love Busta Rhymes, but and I have this feeling like I love Busta Rhymes, and like anytime I'm looking. We don't do this anymore, but like, you get a CD and you see like Busta Rhymes is the guest on a song or whatever. And I used to just think to myself, like, so you just invited Busta Rhymes to embarrass you? Like
yes.
I don't care who you are. You're not going to outshine Busta Rhymes on the album. Like you're not going to do it.
Yeah. And Busta was putting out hits.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Putting your hands where your eyes can see. Even Give Me Some More was good. So I was just like, man, 2 hitters on one track.
Yeah. So I really didn't know what that would be like, but it was a good match. It worked very well together. And when I first heard about this song coming, I thought, I don't know what this could be. But it worked out pretty well. And Busted, like you said, he kind of, I don't want to say he stayed in his lane because he shines. You all are being really harsh on him again. I can't believe I'm having.
Oh, ain't nobody being harsh on Busta.
I thought he did a good job. And what I also thought was this was a little departure for him in his style, I guess. I mean, it was still Busta, but it was like, I guess the song, they really wrote this song in order for her to be elevated. He challenged himself to make a Janet Jackson song.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, because one thing he didn't have for all the hits he had, all his hits were like real hype. You know what I mean? It's like nobody was sitting back and chilling, listening to a Busta Rhymes cut. But I think this kind of put him in that really radio friendly kind of, almost every rapper had a groove like that, had that kind of like, radio friendly bop, kind of R&B-ish bop. But he never had one. So I think this got him one. You know what I mean? And I think what I like it from a standpoint of like a Janet standpoint is that, usually Janet and her projects and everything are so insular. Like she invites somebody in, but you were very well within her house and everything like that. Her rules, her decorations, her everything. You just lucky to be there. You know what I mean?
As it should be.
Exactly. But like around a little bit after the Velvet Rope part, that's when I think you see this era of her kind of looking without a little bit, even going so far back as like Got Till It's Gone, just, that very much has a Tribe Called Quest kind of influence, you know what I mean, in terms of the beat. And then I just felt like this was more like her trying to experimenting on other people's planes. It didn't always work like with Girlfriend Boyfriend, but I like that idea of her sort of being open to the world every now and then, as opposed to being so like closed up into her creative camp and everything like that. So that's the way I felt about it.
I agree.
No, I was just thinking. I was trying to decide if I liked her being insular or being open to the world, and I think I'm about 75% insular.
I did not know where you was going with that, but okay.
I agree. I'm probably more than that.
Yeah, I think so. So this song does contain a couple samples, which Kam is much better at picking out samples than I am. I heard neither of these. So apparently it's got song from Rocky, Go the Distance is sampled in there, as well as EPMD, You Had Too Much to Drink.
It must have been like little chops and bits and pieces here and there.
And I'm an EPMD fan, but no.
But to me, every time I think about this song, though, I always think about it being like a summer song. I don't know why, because I guess because I was still 18, still riding in my Dodge Shadow, and just going back and forth to junior college, bumping this. And this song is the reason why I even bought the Busta CD. So
I think I fell for it too. I fell for it too.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, they made you buy the whole thing. Because back in the day, you couldn't have just bought the single.
So I had to buy the CD to get my Janet, but I was okay with it. I like Busta, you know what I'm saying? And just to kind of piggyback off of what Craig said, this is like Busta's LL Cool J or Method Man's You All I Need to Get By. So it's just his track for, something for the ladies. Now, this time it worked, but remember he did also a song with Mariah Carey, and it wasn't the best song to me. So I think he was.
I don't even remember that.
You don't mean Baby If I Give It to Me? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys have done it twice now. I have blocked that out.
But I think he tried to capture that, and it just didn't quite work as good as this one.
My thing on that record, I'm a Mimi fan too. My thing on that record is like I like more on the record. I think Rod Digga spits so hard on that record that every time that record comes on, I just let it play in the background. And then when she's about to spit, I turn it up.
Yeah, that's when it's time to pay attention.
She goes ridiculous on that record. Every time, even today, even when it just randomly comes on, I'm like, Rod could spit. She's one of the people that really never got her due. Yeah.
I like Rod Digga. So let's talk about this video a little bit. We already
What's it gonna be?
Indicated that it was directed by Hype Williams. And it still holds the record for one of the most expensive videos ever made. And that's a trend with Janet. Like, she can find herself in the most expensive videos ever made, but her record label don't ever have to pay for it. She was in Scream. Sony paid for that. She was in Electra paid for this.
Yeah, well, that is true. Yeah. And even it's funny you mentioned it because I was looking that up before I called, and like, even her video that's kind of the same price doesn't really matter. That was paid for by whatever film company the Nutty Professor was on. Yeah, it's not her coin. And then she'll turn around and put it on her anthology anyway and make them pay for it. Right?
Oh, Janet a pretty good businesswoman.
I'm not mad at her at all. So this video was said to cost anywhere from $2 to $4 million. You can see it. Like, this video, it just looks like money.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of money. And it's very futuristic, just to see how, when he comes onto it starts the video and he's all in this metallic uniform, and then here comes the marching band. It's just like, they really use so many graphics. It was just like one of those videos where you were just like, man, what else can they include in this video? I mean, the purple with Janet in that purple suit. Oh, to die for.
The latex suit, yes, with can't forget the cock rings that were the adornments on that latex
all the way around.
I think I read or heard or something that like her hair and makeup that day, like getting dressed and getting hair and makeup and nails, was like 17 hours.
I can imagine. I mean, from the lashes to it's an iconic. I mean, whoever you see that one time. And what that look is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, and that video was I mean, I think I loved everything about Janet in it and everything like that. I mean, I probably could have cut a good 500,000 or so off of it from the visual effects, and I probably would have enjoyed it as much. Like, I didn't necessarily, like, maybe just,
Sound like me.
you don't necessarily need to transform from the water. Like, can you just be
Yeah.
there drinking some water? Or like, can you, you know, what I mean, you don't necessarily have your head going through all, but whatever. But the thing about it that was so important is because that was the time like Busta was on Elektra and Missy was on Elektra and all them. So you have all these young Black people making all this money for this company. But yet this was still kind of back in the days where a lot of times when the budgets happened, they would give the budgets to a
Right.
rock band, even though hip hop acts were coming with more sales. And this was really a moment like Busta put his foot down to Sylvia Rohn, who was the head of Elektra, and then she put her foot down to the head of, you know, Warner Brothers and all that kind of stuff, and just to kind of prove a point that y'all need to come up with some money for hip hop acts, and they did it.
I didn't notice how much people really love this video, and I'll tell you, I probably watched it. I don't know, maybe 7 times. Like I don't think it's a video that I've seen a lot because I have loved the song, and it stays with you. Like I could probably describe the video to you scene for scene, and I just haven't seen it that much.
Yeah,
because it's iconic isn't the right word, but it is very distinct. You could describe this video and no one would mistake it for another video. And it seems like during that era, like you could describe a bunch of videos where like people were dancing in the desert wearing leather, or people were, you know, down in a subway track doing something. But this is a video like you could describe to people and like they're not going to confuse it with something else. There's like he's in like a metal long bathroom. I don't know what he's doing. And then he's a raindrop, but he's also a drum major. Like that one. Yeah, no one's gonna confuse it with anything else.
Yeah, and it's a lot of sexual how am I saying it right? Innuendo?
I knew that's what you were trying to say.
Yeah. It's a lot of sexual stuff going on.
I was gonna let you work it out.
Yeah. We can't be here all day. But it was like Busta was like all up on Janet a little bit, and then he had himself coming down up on her into her skin, and you know, she had her nails. It was like she was rubbing him in her skin, and I was just like, are y'all doing something that I don't know behind the scenes? I mean, it was nice and tasty, but I'm just like, okay, Busta, what you got going on?
They really did have a very interesting chemistry in this video, which you would not have expected. Like you could not have convinced me before I saw it that anybody was gonna make me believe that like Busta Rhymes and Janet Jackson could ever in any way, shape, or form be a couple.
Right.
But they really pulled it off in this video. I mean, it looked authentic.
Well, I can say this just, you know, from having been around her a little bit, is that I think watching her on like interviews and stuff, or just seeing her, she kind of comes across as kind of reserved or something. Like sometimes when you see her on in videos or behind the scenes stuff, and she's not like that in person at all. She has a very warm, approachable energy. You know how you be around somebody sometimes and you can just tell like she is very warm. Like so I could see how she telling me, yo, come on, just do it. And like and he feel comfortable doing like that because she does not come across to me.
She didn't put up any walls.
But at the same time, he was a gentleman in the video too. He wasn't like he was like, you know, dry humping. But he was still like, you could tell Busta was like, ooh, girl, you don't know.
It was fiery though. It was fiery.
You just don't know.
He made the same face. He made the same face on this video that Q-Tip made on that Global Citizens Festival stage.
Not the Global Citizens. Not the Global Citizens.
Like, oh my. He got
I am not
his
saying
whole
nothing
life in those 2 minutes. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I don't have nothing else to say. That's all I have to say. You talked about the sexual innuendos. There has been discussion, and I don't know that it's ever been confirmed. Maybe you guys have read it somewhere or whatever, but there have been discussion that like that hallway that the marching band is coming down is supposed to be a tunnel of sorts, and that Busta, when he transforms into what I had been calling the bullet head, was supposed to be maybe a sperm cell of sorts.
Oh, I think it definitely was. And that's the whole thing about the marching band. That's why I think it's a little bit, I don't want to say silly, but I can't think of another word. But, you know, just like, but, you know, just like it's too over. Okay, we get it. You know what I mean? Like, what's it going to be? You're horny. It was all kind of, I think, a little bit on the nose. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. But yeah, I clearly see that. I clearly think that that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
I
I
got
saw it and I just
think I
thought
get it.
when I was
Oh.
much younger, when I first saw it, I was in college, and I just thought to myself, can't be, because this just looks ridiculous. Like, if that's what you want me to believe this is, then that just looks silly.
I think you make a good point because, for all of that, all the sperm flying hallways and all whatever, the sexy part of it is just when they're together, just looking sexy, and just Janet looking sexy.
Exactly.
We don't need the sperm. This is not like,
Yeah.
you know how like you be in elementary school before and they give you that book, Where Do Babies Come From? And I mean, to me, and it has a little sperm with the face on it. To me, that's about as sexy as that. You know what I mean? It's not until we actually have the chemistry between the two living grown ass people that
Right.
I feel.
Yeah. I mean,
personally.
But that's a Hype Williams trademark, though. I feel like it's always gonna be one element that's too much.
Yeah, well, like I don't have no kids, but if I had to teach them the words, I'd be here. Just sit down. Okay, you see this man's head turn silver, and he be flying through this hall. Okay, that's what it's like.
Is that your birds and the bees? That is funny.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we can't be mad. Hype was trying. He was responsible for really like I said, some of the best videos of the 90s. And one of my videos that I'm waiting for y'all to tell me you hated it because you done disliked everything else I named with Blackstreet. But Blackstreet and Queen Pen with No Diggity.
Yeah, that's not bad.
He did The Rain with Missy
That's a great
Elliott.
video. I think that's
he
a
also
classic
did
video.
I'll Be Missing You with Puff Daddy. And
a video he did that I really, really liked. That's kind of he doesn't really get credit, and people don't talk about the video a lot. But Missy's Hot Boys, I love that video, and he did that.
Oh, I love that video. But it's the rest of them. It's just like the rest of them. It could have easily been I'll Be Missing You.
But you got Mary, and you got Lil Mo singing, and you got, you got Eve.
Literally, he swapped out the people. He swapped out the people. He was like, let's just make Missing You again. But I like that video as well. And he did one that I didn't know he did, and this was my for real jam. This was my for real jam. He's come on Rap City.
Uh-oh.
Positive K, I Got a Man.
What?
Did that video, yes.
I know.
Man, oh gosh. Now I'm thinking about that bad Coke commercial where they use that song. And at the end, she goes, my man said he loved me and he bought me a Coke. And I'm just like, really, Coca-Cola?
Yeah. They've been colonizing good stuff for a long time. Here we go. So, live performance-wise, did we get a live performance?
Because like I said, she comes out to play with people, but then she goes back in her cocoon. And if the time of the awards show or the VMA hadn't coincided with the time that she was out, she was still out, then you just missed your opportunity. She's not crawling out for, it's just the moment's passed.
Well, they can lure her out occasionally, but you just got to name an award after her. You got to name something after her or of the millennium, like BET did with that breadcrumb award.
But she came.
Wow.
She was ready to come anyways, because like a couple weeks later, No Sleep came out. So she was already kind of like gearing up to show up.
But, I would not be a bit surprised, bringing it back to Metamorphosis. I would not be a bit surprised. In fact, I would be surprised if we didn't see a little blip of what's it going to be during that show. If she's kind of going back through her whole career and she's kind of like looking back on her, you're not going to get a whole song, but you might get one little chorus, And I think, didn't the DJ play that during the Unbreakable, how the DJ, I think I might have heard that then.
On State of the World, I think she's a verse or something. And it only was on one leg because I remember I did not see it the first time I saw State of the World, but on the second time she sang like one little verse. And then I remember like it's just been in like mixes. I don't know if you guys remember, but like just after the State of the World tour, like Busta went all crazy and was posting about Jan on his Instagram and everywhere. And he was saying it was his first time seeing Janet Jackson live. And he wrote, me being an artist myself, I'm super inspired in a whole new way. She is probably the most incredible, timeless, God-sent talent I have ever seen in my life. I salute you, Queen. Like he was losing it a little bit on his Instagram the night of that concert.
I'm wondering what the DM looked like.
This song reached number 3 on the Hot 100 in April 1999. Who was on the charts then?
I bet you Missy was on there. Missy has to be on there.
Missy, of course, Missy has to.
Lauren, I was just about to say Lauren because that was like that was the end part of the Miseducation because she won all the Grammys in February of that year.
Jay-Z was on the charts at number 18 with Hard Knock Life. Oh, my favorite, Mystical, was on the charts with It Ain't My Fault. Number 1, I don't even put these together. Do you guys put these together in your head? Number 1 was Cher, Believe.
Now that you mentioned it, it all makes sense. But yeah, I forgot because that record was so out of context. It just kind of Cher popped back, went to number 1, and popped back away.
Yes.
Or bye bye, whatever that auto tunes was.
Yeah. And at number 2 was Heartbreak Hotel, Whitney Houston, Faith Evans, Kelly Price. Yeah.
Uh-oh, that's the joint. That came on BET Her the other day.
Yeah. So that's really it for What's It Gonna Be? I enjoy the song. It is not one that I seek out, but when it finds me, I don't turn away.
And I like the song. It's on my playlist. It's on my phone. So when I'm walking slowly, it plays.
When you walking slowly.
Yeah. I'm trying to get healthier, but it's not working.
I'm always glad to hear it. Like I don't think I've ever turned it off.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It's just not one that I seek out, but I think it's still a good song and I think it really holds up. Like it was unique enough that it fit in its time in 1999 and it still sounds fresh today.
All right.
So before we wrap, let us we talked about Vegas and the Vegas show. Since we like being wrong here, let's close with some predictions of what we think the Vegas residency will look like. What do you all think that will look like? We'll start with you, Kam.
I only thing I can think of is just like a musical journey. Maybe some clips from her growing up as a kid, a couple of, clips from Fame and Different Strokes, but mainly just focusing on, I guess, gems, her songs or gems, as I like to call it, that really mean a lot to her. Hopefully she does Funny How Times Flies when we're having fun. Yeah, if she does that, I'm happy because I just feel like that's underrated. Other than that, she can't go wrong with anything off of Control and Rhythm Nation.
Okay. All right, I like it. Craig, what you got?
I think it's gonna, just based upon the art and stuff, I think it's gonna kind of, and she's flirted with this before. I think there's gonna be like a sci-fi or kind of comic booky aspect to it because that's kind of what the art looks like. And then you think about sort of how she did that anime thing for Scream. So I think it's gonna be kind of like that. And I think it's really going to be. I think it's gonna be almost like seeing a Broadway show, almost more than we feel seeing a concert. Like I really think you're going to get a sense of this. It's like you're going to see a Janet Broadway show, and it's gonna have its different acts and all of that, and you're really gonna get a fuller sense of a story than you normally get from a concert. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I agree. That is my prediction as well. I feel like it's going to be more theater, more artistic, than just, and not that her concerts aren't, but then just a concert. And I am just based on what we've been reading, it sounds like it's going to try to be a autobiographical, and I'm really interested in that. Like, I don't know how these things go together. So it could just be a musical journey, like from point A to point B, and maybe there'll be some stories attached to the different songs or just what her life was at the point where that song was being made or something like that. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. I know it's going to be awesome. It doesn't matter what it is, but I do know it better not be State of the World 3.0. I'm like, I will fight everybody. I will fight strangers. I will fight babies. I will fight penguins. I'll fight everybody if I see State of the World 3.0.
I hear you.
Like, oh man, they get kicked out.
But I don't think that's what it will be. And listen, I'm talking big smack, but I've seen that show more than once and I have loved it every time. But I don't think that's what we're going to get. And I'm super excited for it. I think the art is very interesting. It's got me wondering what this could be.
The only thing that would make me feel a little bit more comfortable about the project is that if there were more dates, only because like in Vegas, you're sort of like moving in, you're sort of like making that your theater home and stuff.
And they're so spread out too.
Yeah, like the more dates they were, and if they were more in consistent order, You know what I'm saying? It would be
Mhm.
so much different than just your regular concert experience, because it would be like she moved in, she, hung stuff up in her dressing room. Like,
Right.
it would
Like
be,
she's got an
you know what I'm
apartment
trying to say?
upstairs. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
But she could be testing this, and this is what I thought when I saw the dates. They're kind of weird. They're kind of spaced out. Either one or two things is happening. Something that cannot travel, so it's going to be so amazing, but it's something that she could not take around the world, right? Like, you got to come to it. Or it could be a test. This could be a test. This could be something that she's going to tour, but in a different setting, like in more theaters, like it might go to Broadway, that kind of thing.
All right.
Well, you know what, Craig? I hope you have fun. I hope.
Thank you. No, I had a lot of fun. Thanks so much for inviting me. I really did have a good time.
We had a good time with you, and so thank you so much, and all the best with your book. I know I will be copping a copy. I'm so excited, especially as you have explained it to us, being basically all inclusive of Janet's career and taking a more holistic approach, which has not been done before. So thank you for doing that for not just the Jan film, but for everybody, because I think it's very important to capture that legacy. And nobody better to do it than you.
Sure. Oh, well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And like I said, I'm keep listening because y'all be cracking me up. So.
So that's it for us. On behalf of myself, Courtney Stribling, and my cousin Kam, we'd like to thank you for spending time with us. If you like our show, please subscribe at iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also chat with us via Twitter and Instagram at JJTodayPod. Feel free to leave us a comment, drop us a like, and tell another Janet Jackson fan about our show. Our intro and outro music, Good For You by THBD, is licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license.
Janet today, Janet tomorrow, Janet forever.